what's going on, guys. So we are driving about an hour away from the shop. With this virus stuff we have going on, customer couldn't get his car down here, couldn't have someone follow him back and forth. I opted to go pick it up. Figured this was kind of the best option. This small little project's been in the works for a little bit here now, so I didn't want to push him off. It's only an hour away. I'll give you a little hint with my haltech sweater on what we're doing. So we're about 30 minutes out or so. We're gonna pick up the car. I'll get it back in the shop. Show you what we got going on, what kind of car it is, all that good stuff. So besides that, it's a beautiful day out. Traffic's not too bad, and yeah, we'll see. This one should be fun with the results and whatnot. So hopefully you guys enjoy it. So here she is, the car I was just in, driving back to the shop. This thing is immaculate. Looks like it came straight off the showroom floor. We got some little aftermarket goodies on it. So what we're doing now is we're going to do a baseline pull on it as it comes in. And as I walk around this way, trying not to step on the wood and the ramps, and this is what we're installing in it. Haltech Platinum Pro plug-in. And as the name states, it is completely plug-in. You got to run a vacuum to that little guy, but besides that, it's really easy. Got some little cool goodies in here. Got the new dash that we have here, and we're going to have one on display. Have it all set up, functioning and working, so you guys can see that stuff. And you know what we're trying to do here is have all this type of stuff and software available for you guys, pretty much to do to mess around with it before you actually buy it. And then, of course, if you're one of these guys that like to mess around with some stuff, and maybe you're going to the track and you don't want to, maybe you feel like you're a bother. I don't want to bother you. I'm going to the track this day. I'll actually take some time out of my day. We'll schedule something in, and as soon as this quarantine thing is over, schedule something in, and I'll go over everything with you, give you some pointers, give you some tips, tell you what you should never touch, unless you know what you're doing. You don't want to blow your car up. But I wanted to do an outside shot of it. Gonna get it back up here, roll it onto the dyno, and go from there. We'll get some befores and afters, and that's about it, guys. Straightforward, easy little setup. Oh, we'll also do a leak down test on it. Gonna make sure this motor is healthy. If you didn't see my leak down test video that I posted, I think a couple weeks ago, basically we're gonna shoot air into the cylinders. We're gonna see how much air escapes, and we're gonna really see how healthy the motor is. So yeah, questions and comments as always. Feel free to comment down below or hit us up. Shoot us a phone call or message us on Facebook or email. We are here to help. So we got this S2000 haltech project up in the air right now, and what we're doing, really basic stuff. Setting up our straps so we can strap onto the dyno. This is the rear of the car. What I do personally is I do a crisscross pattern. I have 4 straps that will hook up to the car, not just 2. Seems like it's the safer way to go. Can't be too cautious with that stuff. While the car is up in the air, we do a full once-over a little bit. This allows us to see if we have any exhaust leaks, any kind of fluid leaks. We're going to tap in. We're going to remove the O2 sensor. We're going to put our own O2 sensor in because it will read. The dyno reads the air fuel on that. So some guys will ask us, we'll also run the straps up front around the control arm. Some guys will ask us if they need a wideband on their car for us to tune it, and we don't. So we actually have our air fuel unit right here that will read on the computer. So you don't need a wideband for us to tune the car. If it's a little bit of a larger setup, it's always good to have a wideband in the car to see if any kind of changes happen. You know, if it's a boosted setup, you know, if your air fuel changes from one day to another drastically, well then, you know, something happens, something's going on. But like I said, we're just doing a visual right now. I'll put the front straps on. Gonna get it pulled backwards and do a baseline pull to see where we're at right now. Speaking to the customer about that, and you know, it's always nice to see it before and after, and this kind of will help customers in the future. You know, hey, is it worth getting a tune? We did the I did the RDX video on that too, and this ultimately, you know, hopefully helps you guys, because that's the name of the game. That's what I'm trying to do, and you'll go from there. So, really clean car. So we got our baseline pull right now with how the car is running, factory computer. 205 horsepower, max torque is 142. If you watch my other videos, you already know what I'm about to say. If the 205 seems low, you got to remember each dyno is going to read different, going to be calibrated different. It's not hard to mess with numbers on a dyno either. So we're doing a baseline now to see what we end up with after the tune. The bottom portion right here is actually the air fuels, and you'll see right where I started the run. The dotted line represents 13.5 air fuel. That's where I start off, and then I'll go up and down depending on what the car wants. Some cars like it a little bit richer, some cars like a little bit leaner. This one, you can see, and this is going to be right around where the VTEC is going to kick in factory. It actually gets down to 12.6. It's probably a little bit too rich for this car. And then you'll also see it shoots right back up to 14.5. 14.5. So, and then at the very end, it's 13.9. Richens back up a little bit, 13.7. So, you know, after the tune, what I'm trying to aim for is to get that solid line to be as close to the dotted line. So, getting rid of this little up and down portion. And, you know, like I said, ultimately, some cars like it a little bit richer, like it a little bit leaner. We'll know power-wise. But 205, 142 foot-pounds of torque. So, pretty much where these cars sit on this dyno. So, not too, not astounding. You know, not surprised by it. That's what I was kind of expecting. I'll get into the tune on Haltech, and we'll see what I can do. So the results are in, and you are not the father. Oh, I'm just joking. So blue is the first run, red is the second run. I'm sorry, red is the final run. Let me try to stabilize this camera here. 205 to 216, so 11 horsepower increase. You know, what you want to remember, and then it's not a bad increase, don't get me wrong, just for a tune. But what I always tell people is you want to look through the power band and see in certain areas how much you increased. 148, 167 horsepower, so right in that specific area we almost gained 20 horsepower. As I was saying before my phone wanted to tell me that I had no more storage left, what you want to pay attention is the actual power band. And you can see in some certain areas, you know, we're close to, well, that's 22 horsepower increase. So that's what you're going to feel. This, you know, the power band, this whole thing is what's ultimately going to be how the car drives and what you can actually feel on the street. We'll switch this over to torque. And torque, we go from 142 to 152. Same concept though, as I was just saying. In some areas, you can see that we pick up more. If I keep going, close to 20 foot-pounds of torque. So this is what you're going to feel when you're driving. If we cut this away, the other stuff too, when you're looking at a dyno graph like this, and it'll be a little bit easier to see here with the power. We got VTEC set earlier. You have ultimately this little dip right here. And as I said before, it's hard to do everything through a phone lens, camera, whatever. We'd like to see this dip keep continuing, so it goes up and up and up, and ultimately will result in more power. You know, stuff like this, you know, if he gets aftermarket header, if he did a test pipe instead of a cat, he might see an extra horsepower increase, maybe 5 horsepower, but at the same time, you know, he's going to go boost. So down the road when he does go boost and he's going supercharger, you know, at the same time, let's get a better header on it. And, you know, overall it's going to help the flow. So it's all about being efficient, getting everything flowing like it should, exhaust, intake. Hopefully you found this video informative. Of course, if you've got questions or comments, let us know. And I am about to go run because my appointment is here. Thanks a lot, guys. So one more quick thing I wanted to mention. I'm back from my appointment. You got to ask yourself, in a situation like this, is this right for you? In this customer's case, he's got other plans down the road. If, you know, I can't tell you if it's right for you because it's your money, and I can't say how much you value your money. For how much the plug-and-play costs in the dyno tune, is it worth it for these gains? You got to ask yourself that. That's one of the biggest things here that I don't do here is you're not going to see me promoting a product that's going to give you false hope or false gains. In the long run, no matter what the dyno number is, you know, I can make the dyno number read, you know, 500 foot-pounds of torque on the S2000. Does that mean, you know, that's what it's making? You know, no, of course not. Customer's going to get in and be unhappy. So, you know, when customers always ask me, you know, and I mentioned this about the RDX in the RDX video, you know, is it worth it? Well, you know, I present the information in front of you. I try to give you as much information and feedback that I have received from customers to ultimately give to you guys so you can make the proper decision. So, if you're going to stay completely stock on this car, is it worth it? My personal opinion, probably not. If you got some bolt-ons and you want maybe, hey, VTEC to kick in a little bit sooner and you're going to make more power from that, and you got some money laying around, that's going to be your decision ultimately. So the one thing, like I said, I don't run a business. I've been doing this now for 20 plus years. I don't run a business on creating false hope or false sales, because ultimately you're gonna figure it out yourself. And that's not how I retain long-term customers. So as I always say, and I'm going to go run and get this phone, next little project, you got questions or comments, hit me up.